It's official, I am in between jobs for the next 6 weeks and my wife currently earns more than me. I think we all know what that means.
Budget cuts!
Now before we get into budgeting, this is a brand new channel for us, so I would really appreciate if you'd hit that subscribe button down below and support us in our endeavours. I have to read a really boring legal disclaimer now, just to cover my ass. Everything in this video is my own personal opinion and not financial advice. It in no way should be taken as financial advice. I am not a qualified financial advisor, and even if I was, I don't know your personal circumstances. If you want answers tailored to your own personal circumstances, then seek out the help of a qualified financial advisor. Before we can start talking about the actual app and the process that I use of budgeting, we should talk about financial models. Here's one I made earlier. I know what you're thinking. Makes perfect sense, Miles. You don't need to go any further with the video. Totally got it. I'll subscribe. For those of you who don't know what this is a financial model that represents the advice given in The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. And the concept is that when you get paid, this is 100% of your salary or your household income. Think of it that way. The first thing you should do is pay yourself 10% of everything that comes in. That's this green line here at the top. So you pay yourself first, and 10% of everything you earn is yours to keep. Next, you should use 20% of your earnings to facilitate and pay off debt. Think of that like credit cards and any other unsecured loans that you might have. 20% should go to facilitating payments and paying down those debts. Maximum of 20%. The remaining 70% should go towards facilitating your monthly household needs. This is rent, mortgage, gas and electric, food, petrol, clothing, and anything else that you might need to pay to get yourself through the month. The keen-eyed Lego engineers watching this video will already have realized that this model only holds together if this green line of paying yourself first is here. If we remove, for example, start taking away that paying yourself first and that savings line, this whole model loses structural integrity. Everything breaks apart, right? The whole model only holds together if you pay yourself first. So for anyone who doesn't like my financial model, and I don't know why you wouldn't, because I think it's perfectly good, let's see if we can make it a bit clearer. When all the money comes in at the end of the month, what I do is I take 10% of everything that comes home, so that's after tax, and I put it into long-term savings. Some people might call this an emergency fund. You might be using it to save up for dental work or maybe even a holiday, although ideally I prefer you had those two, emergency fund and holiday fund, saved separately. Just think about it, this is money that you shouldn't be touching in that month. It's not money that's sitting there for, oh, I've overspent on the 70%, I can take money out of that savings. It's not there for that. It's there as a long-term savings support for you in the end. Remember, the model falls apart without the savings. The Richest Man in Babylon model allows for 20% of your take-home pay to be allocated to paying down or paying off debtors. The last 70%, this is the vast majority of your monthly take-home income, goes towards the we. This is the regular monthly recurring household bills. So now we understand the financial model around the budget, let's work through an example using the Dave Ramsey Every Dollar Budget app that I like to use. Ignore the dollars, numbers work the same way whether they've got a dollar sign in front of them or a pound in front of them. I use this app because I find it's the most simple way to budget for me that follows the way that I understand money and I understand numbers. I would like a UK version of this, or for Dave Ramsey to release it in the UK officially on the app stores, but that's a story for another video. These are all representative numbers. They are not my exact numbers for my household budget. This is a demonstration to show you how this works. You can quite as easily do this on a spreadsheet or also on a piece of paper. It works in the exact same way. We're going to do what's called a zero-based budget. So the income minus everything we allocate in the budget will net out to zero. We're going to say that the household income in November will be £3,000. Remember, we said the first thing we do is we pay ourselves first, and 10% of everything we take home is ours to keep. So the savings will be £300. You can now see on the right hand side the budget starts to get built. We have the income showing at £3,000 and the savings is showing £300 and that's 10%. One of the reasons I really like the Every Dollar app is that it builds the picture for you as you go along. So debt, we are assuming that there's a credit card somewhere that has a £300 balance on it. I don't have a credit card. However, if I did and it had £300 balance on it, that's well within the 20% we're allowed to allocate to debts. So if we took home £3,000, we would be allowed to allocate £600 towards paying debts. £300 obviously less than that, so we're just going to pay the whole lot off. So let us now allocate the remaining 70%, or in our case 80%, to the household, his and her expense categories. For food shopping, we'll allocate £280, that's £70 a week, and there are 4 weeks between paychecks in November. So that's £280. The mortgage is around £1,200. Council tax is £207. We pay £125 a month for gas and electric, and £13 a month for factoring. Our home internet is through a 5G internet SIM, and we pay £17 a month for 5G unlimited internet through the 5G SIM. For the vet subscription, we have 2 dogs. They're £18 each, so that's £36 towards the vet bills. And the dog groom, we get 1 dog groomed a month, so that is £60. You'll see I've put that as luxury in the brackets, meaning that if money was too tight as we get further down the budget, that's what would get removed. We'd remove the luxury from the budget. So we go down now and we try to pair off his and her expenses as evenly as possible. So for petrol, we both get £100. We'll pause here. If you look at the top, you now see that it tells us how much we've got left to budget. You'll have seen this been counting down as we go along, right? So we've got £262 left to budget, and so far we've allocated 10% to savings, 10% to debt, 65% to household earnings, 3% to his expenses, and 3% to her expenses. For YouTube Premium, we pay £19.99. Nest Aware Plus, this is for our house security, that's £12. And my phone SIM is £8 a month. Her phone SIM is also £8 a month, and she pays for Apple Care £9 a month. So as you can see, what we've got left now is £205. Split evenly, that gives us £100 of fun money each, with £5 and 1 remaining. What I would probably do there, just to keep things fair, is I'd either buy her a coffee or go up and, just to round off the budget, go and drop that extra £5 into savings. It doesn't hurt to save an extra few pounds. So up that to £305 and 1 pence. And what you've done there is you've created what Dave Ramsey calls an every dollar budget. Every pound that has come in the household income has been allocated and given a task. So how do we track an expense in every dollar? That's a good example. If we look at this food shopping, right, then you click into the category. On the right hand side, you can now click on the plus and actually add expenses. So you can start tracking against the budget now. So if we went shopping and spent £70 on the budget, we might put in that that went to Asda and track the expense. What you'll now see is that remaining, we have £210 in that category, and the household expenses has dropped its remaining budget to £18.68. You'll also see that there's a little piece of the pie that's been cut out because that's been spent. And so the nice thing about this is that for every category, you can actually track how much should be in each bank account at that time, just to make sure that all the bills are going to get paid that month as well. So let's review how our final budget lined up with the financial model that we built earlier. We allocated 10% of our budget to savings and we paid ourselves first. That's good. We allocated 10% of our budget to a fictional debt, which is less than 20%. So that's good. And then we allocated 80% of our budget to household expenses and running of the day-to-day bills. So ultimately, even in my fake budget, I couldn't convince myself to pretend that I had enough unsecured debt to meet the financial model that I built earlier. Well, that was a waste of time. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content. Bye. Day 1 of unemployment, and I'm already playing with Lego and talking to myself. This should end well.